Golden Fairy is one of the, if not the best item to try and farm for in Rune Slayer, giving you extra rolls per monster kill to reduce the repetitiveness and grind of the game in general. Now, what if I told you, the player, that this fairy is actually bugged for a specific type of monsters? These monsters are monsters and majority of you guys have been farming because the hardest drops come from these bosses. Yes, I'm on about the boss monsters. I've not posted a video for a while because me and a couple of friends have been vigorously testing to find out what inconsistencies the Golden Fairy has. To our knowledge and through testing, we can confidently say Golden Fairy does not work at all on any of the bosses, but three. These three are Razorfang, Rat King, Basilisk, and my bad, I didn't mean three, I meant four, and the Rune Golem. You may also notice something in common with these three bosses is that you do not receive money after killing them. You can also use certain grab moves specifically on these bosses too. For other bosses, for example, the Mandrake King, he's a boss that commonly drops Mandrake roots. You can test this yourself if you have a Golden Fairy. But you will notice you never go above 8 Mandrake roots, with or without a Golden Fairy. Through 100 Mandrake King kills, we have never gotten above 8 roots, with or without the Golden Fairy, despite, the Golden Fairy adding +4 rolls to your kills. But before we go any further, let me try and explain simply how the roll system works. For those of you who are unaware, you may feel you only get 1 roll of loot from mobs. So you feel getting 4 more rolls means you're basically killing the mob 4 times. This is not the case. It simply implies we get more rolls on top of what we're already given. We can take Razorfang for example. You get Prime Meat, Tusk, and a Shield God's Ring. These are 3 different items, but once you've killed this mob, sometimes you get multiple of the same items. Sometimes you don't. These are the rolls. You have a chance of receiving an X item, though nothing can also be counted as an item in itself. It just depends on the percent chance of each item dropped. To paraphrase what I just said, you have mob specific rules. These are hard-coded rules for each mob type. You have luck rules, rolls that determine the rarity of the item you're getting. Then you have Golden Fairy rolls. These are rolls that get added onto the mob once you kill it. If Razorfang gives 5 drops per kill, Golden Fairy will make this 9 drops per kill due to it rolling 4 more rolls on the mob killed. But it is still possible for you to still roll 1 item although having a Golden Fairy. It's just much more less likely to happen since you just have more rolls overall. This is pretty simple logic to follow, and it seems the most accurate towards the test we've done, as we cannot see the game's code to give you an accurate explanation as to why it is. Yes, what this means is that you're not guaranteed better drops every time with the Gold Fairy, because you can still roll nothing as an item. This does not increase your luck at all, but it does increase the average at which you receive drops, which is good overall. By probability rates will mean you are given more legendaries than the person who doesn't have a Golden Fairy, if it's applicable. But throughout testing, we have noticed no changes in the amount of averaging drops from bosses that give you money per kill, which means bosses like the Goblin Champion does not work with the Gold Fairy. Bosses like the Lich King does not work with the Gold Fairy. Bosses like the Goblin King does not work with the Gold Fairy, essentially making this item or this fairy pretty much useless for all the end game content you guys have been grinding. The Mandrake King and Mother Spider were the easiest to get information about this from, as they have pretty common drops despite being a boss. Information here is that we are not looking at the rare drops, so you guys can follow. We're looking at the averaging amount of drops in the common loot pool, since comparing rare items would need a larger sample size. The King is an obvious choice to use for the roots due to the high drop rates. The issue is, as explained earlier, Gold Fairy does not give you a higher average of Mandrake roots drop. Could this mean it's broken? I think so. Despite this, I think more testing needs to be done. We might have to come into a consensus as a group, or anyone who's viewing this video who would like to try it out, just to check and verify if what I'm saying is correct. So we searched other bosses until we were told that a certain boss gives more loot when using a Golden Fairy. This boss, as you can guess, is Razorfang, as I mentioned previously in the video. Now this table shows Razorfang can give a rough estimate of 5 rolls. Adding a gold fairy of course can max out to 9 rolls. To be specific, you will notice when using the golden fairy that this doesn't happen to a majority of bosses. I mentioned previously bosses like the Goblin King, the Lich King, and Goblin Champion. For instance, the Goblin Champion has one designated mob roll. When you kill it, he drops 1 roll of his loot table. This could be nothing, this could be his rune, this can be his weapon, or any of the accessories that he drops. With the gold fairy, if it's properly working, he should drop 4 additional rolls of items, but that isn't the case. He only ever drops 1 no matter what you use. But anyways, I will be dropping a list in the description of the video so you guys can see our findings for yourself. For me personally, I feel like it would be nice to have some sort of journal with the mobs inside that after killing them X amount of times, so we can see how many rolls we get and information based on those mobs and bosses we kill. Hopefully it does get fixed soon, because it's very saddening to find out that our golden fairy that we farm for is pretty much useless for all the end game content and is only useful for mid game to early game content. Like, the golden fairy is only good for people who are trying to prog. It's not good at all for those who are trying to progress in the end game, which is, you know, just kind of annoying. Anyways, that's pretty much all for today. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and peace.